Team Builder. Week 3. PPL D2, Season 2. Our opponent this week is Chaosinthesky, manager of the Kentucky Weaviles. But before we get into that stuff, let's take a look at the league table and Golden Pokeball Award. Thanks to our amazing performance last week, we are now 6th. That's not too bad, actually. We are still above right, that's all that really matters. As you can see, this week's opponent is currently in 3rd place, which gives you an idea of how spooky this match is. Meanwhile, on the GPA, Scissor is still doing pretty good. But I assume this is going to change a lot throughout the season, so an early high place doesn't mean much. For example, things like Bunnelby will get their kills later this season. Now, onto the teams. Chaos's draft consists of some bulky shit and some spooky shit. And a baby bird. He has Melodic, Aromatisse, Amoonguss, Mandibuzz, Metagross, Charizard, Galvantula, Mismagius, Terrakion, and of course, the incredibly scary Rufflet. I'm not even kidding here, Rufflet can do over half to most of my team. And yes, I did prep for it. There was a transfer window before this match, but my squad didn't change, because I think it's good. Especially Lightheart and Mr. Maymay. So, what are we bringing this week? I decided to play some more stupid offense, because this game isn't fun to me anymore when I play any other way. Basically, the way this team works is that there are 2 set of sweepers, both of which can basically win me the game once I get rid of key mons or items. The first thing is Floating Man, the Thunderous. It's a dual dancer that's got dual stab in the form of T-Bolt and HP flying. At +2 special attack, this thing kills literally everything, except SP Death Aromatisse, Assault Vest Metagross and Bulky Zardex. Agility is there, because I feel like Scarf Terrakion is decently likely this week and I can't let a rock slide from it. So basically, this thing can't sweep if the following conditions are met. Metagross and Amoonguss don't have assault vests. Charizard takes stealth rock damage. Terrakion isn't scarfed. Though even without some of these conditions, it can still do massive work. Specially defensive Aromatisse doesn't kill it back. Assault vest Amoonguss can't put it to sleep, and Metagross only has a chance to OHKO with Ice Punch. Next up, the second set of sweeper, Flammy the Mega Altaria. This is its chance to redeem itself. To show me that it isn't worthless. We are running sort of a mixed defensive set on it, which allows it to take a wide variety of hits really well. Now, some people might say this thing has a poor matchup against Chaos, because literally everything on his team, except Galvantula, gets some kind of coverage for Altaria. However, those people haven't looked at my calcs. For example, Melodic's Ice Beam only does over half, if he runs it max special attack modest. Aromatisse can't OHKO it with a stab modest Life Orb Moonblast. Amoonguss Sludge Bomb only does over half, if he runs max special attack modest. Mandibuzz can barely touch this thing. Zardex can carry Steel Wing and needs to be adamant to do half. Galvantula can't do over half even with specs. Mismagius barely does over half, even if it's modest Life Orb. Terrakion's Iron Head needs to be Life Orb adamant to do over half. The only threats to this thing are Metagross using Meteor Mash, Amoonguss putting it to sleep, and, believe it or not, Rufflet using Steel Wing. Altaria can't set up on most things pretty safely, roost off any damage and heal its status. The only things stopping it are physically defensive Amoonguss and bulky Metagross. Go and show the world why you're a feared set of sweeper. Dramatic pause here. Now, you might have noticed me saying that Metagross and Amoonguss could be problematic for both of these. The next 2 months deal with them. First off, we have Smoljo, the Darmanitan. I can't get this program to pronounce that properly. We are running Flare Blitz, Rock Slide, U-Turn and Bulk Up. The latter is mostly filler, but if I ever get a free turn, I might as well set up a little. EV spread is pretty straightforward. We are running Max Attack to really hurt things and Max Speed. Max Speed allows us to outspeed things like Fast Metagross and Melodic. Ran some calcs and the extra HP I would have gotten from only outspeeding Metagross didn't seem to make any difference anywhere. As you may or may not know, Adamant Darm really hurts. In fact, the only reliable switch-in on his team is physically defensive Melodic, which I can't simply U-turn out on. Our 4th team member this week, making its 3rd consecutive appearance, is Celestian, the Celebi. This thing's purpose is basically to support the 2 set of mons as much as possible. Psychic hurts the Amoonguss and Earth Power hurts the Metagross. Then there's Healing Wish to further support the setup duo. Rocks are there, because we are facing a fucking Charizard. Then we have Draciel, the Hitmontop. Basically, this thing is here in case Sticky Web happens, because nobody wants that. That's quite literally the only reason I brought it this week, to be honest. We are running a mixed defensive assault vest set on it. This takes less than half from most special attacks and does an excellent job taking physical hits after Intimidate. Except Zen headbutt from Metagross, obviously. Those will hurt it. Instead of some boring normie stab, we've got revenge on it, because reasons. Then there's Stone Edge for mostly Charizard. Sucker Punch is there to get some priority damage on things, if any sweeps get out of hand. Rapid Spin is there, because it hits Mismagius really hard. Honestly, this thing is kind of underwhelming to me and I'm only bringing it as a spinner in case of Sticky Web. So, if I have to pick Sleep Fodder against a Moongus, it will most likely be this. And lastly, we've got Von Trier, the Scissor. This entire thing is basically filler, because I had no clue what to do with my final team slot. This used to be basically everything. At first it was Rain Sweeper Seismitoad, then it was Screams Mr. Maymay, then it was Spike Stacking Bunnelby, then it was a Banded Trick Liepard and now it's a Scissor. We are running max attack to do as much damage as possible to Aeromidas and Terrakion with Bullet Punch. We also have Knock Off, because that's a really good move. Also helps with Metagross. Then there's Agility Pass, because I don't know. Gonna pass this either to Thundurus or Darmanitan. Or not at all. I briefly considered putting Wing Attack on this to hit a Moongus but it didn't do enough to make me happy so I decided against it. We are running 29 IVs in speed this week, which is a bit weird. Basically, this ensures that we're still slower than Terrakion but faster than Zard after using agility. That way, we can baton pass safely, because I'm expecting him to think we'll outspeed Terrakion and Scissor can take 2 Stone Edges from it. So that's our team this week. It looks and feels really weird but I've won both my test matches with it. As for Chaos's team, here's what I'm expecting to see this week. Melodic, most likely physically defensive to reliably switch into Darb, though Scarf competitive is possible this week. A Moongus, probably also physically defensive, most likely one packing the HP Fire. Metagross, as his only reliable offensive counter for Altaria. Aromatisse, because it's bulky all around and hits pretty hard. Likely going to be a mixed cleric set. Zard is probably coming as well, because it's super scary. Terrakion, likely Scarf or Rock Polish, because that thing is scary. Or he might bring a more offensive Sticky Web team. But I feel like the 6 I mentioned earlier are most likely. So yeah, the battle, as always, will be uploaded tomorrow, 5 PM Greenwich Mean Time. See ya there.